Welcome everyone to the Watchlist, a webinar series for ASX listed companies to pitch to real investors such as yourself so they can be added to your watch list. Our job is to showcase companies that are on your watch list or those that we think should be, to give you ideas of companies to look at, to research, to take an interest in, because we know being on your watch list is a big deal. Today, we've found two companies that you may not have heard of previously from two different sectors, but who in our view both have compelling investment propositions. PRL Global, ASX code PRG, represented by Chairman David Somerville, and Frugl Group Limited, ASX code FGL, represented by Managing Director Kenny Wu and Rowan Bramwell, COO and Head of Growth at TrinePont International, recently acquired or in the process of being acquired by Frugl Group. Remember, this webinar is interactive. We want you to ask questions of the presenters. So while they're presenting, think up some questions and submit them using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. I'd now like to introduce the first of our company presenters, David Somerville, Chairman of recently renamed PRL Global, ASX code PRG. PRL Global, from its humble beginnings on Christmas Island, has evolved into a diversified and integrated business with interests in resources, energy, logistics, facilities management, and the economic development of Christmas Island. David, over to you.
Thank you, David, and good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're based. I'm Dave Somerville, as David said, Chairman of PRL Group, recently changed name from CI Resources. If we can slide onto the first slide, please. Standard disclaimer, which says everything we say is based upon knowledge that we currently have today. So about PRL Group, who are we? So we're an Australian listed company. We mine phosphate on Christmas Island, and we've been mining phosphate on Christmas Island for over 30 years. So first question, where is Christmas Island? So Christmas Island is in the northern Indian Ocean. It's about 500 kilometres away from Jakarta, which makes it over 2,700 kilometres away from Perth and 1,700 kilometres away from the closest point on the northwest shelf of Western Australia. It's one of 4 islands which were claimed by the British and mining phosphate through that period of time. It's got a rich history, and I'll come back to that in a moment. We're the mainstay of business and the economy on Christmas Island, which has a couple of thousand people as residents. We're the largest employer. Our marketing is conducted out of our office in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur, and our finance and administration is in Perth. Through our logistics business, again, which I'll touch on shortly, we have offices in Singapore and Geneva, Switzerland. Some 5 years ago, the board decided that we needed to diversify our interests and add to our value stream with the diversification into fertilisers. So that has now been implemented, and we're seeing the results of that, particularly in this year. We've had a strong track record of returning value to shareholders through dividends and earnings per share, and we have an entrepreneurial management group. If we slide into the next one. Yours truly, about 10 kilos heavier and with a beard. I've known the Christmas Island guys, the founder, Mr. Lai Hong, and his team for about 30 years. I was a consultant to them back in those days and have been chairman for the last 15. Lai is the managing director and a founder of the company, part of the Union of Christmas Island Workers who fought to have the mine reopened in 1990. Lip Jen T is an executive director based in Malaysia with strong expertise in engineering and the markets in Malaysia and Indonesia. Mr. Adrian Gagoni, executive director based in Perth, finance and corporate. Mr. Rama Krishnan, executive director marketing in Malaysia. Dato Sri, Non-Executive Director, KS Ong, Non-Executive, and Jane T, also Non-Executive Director, with specialisations in plantations, finance and legal. Next slide, thank you. Our performance this year is the first year where we've seen the real flow-on effects from our diversification strategy, particularly in our logistics. And you can see the growth in logistics revenue from 2019, 20 and 21, none, 22 and then 23. And the right-hand graph showing where that growth in revenue has come from. That earnings growth, which is in the bottom left-hand graph, is describing that with the earnings mix, logistics 57%, fertilisers 36%, and the remainder. The earnings that we have achieved, the profit, I should say, that we have achieved this year is 25 million. We've had a few years prior to that with the flow-on effects of COVID and market conditions, with profits 7 million and thereabouts. Then going back from 2018 backwards, we fairly consistently performed at about $20 million per year in net profit after tax. Dividends, again, 2 to 3 years in the middle where we reduced dividends prudently to around 3 cents. Prior to that in the tens, and this year back to 7.5 with the special dividend coming, 2 special dividends of 5 cents each. Capital structure, 115 million shares on issue. Next slide, please. The diversification has seen a broader spread of the group. I'll go through these in a little more detail, but just from a high level. Energy, we provide fuel services on the island and to Border Patrol. Agribusiness, we have on-island agribusiness as well as an interest in a plantation in Malaysia, which we just divested. Our fertiliser business, which of course includes mining, as well as our distribution and growth. Island development, we're certainly looking to expand that, tourism being a big opportunity for us moving forward. And our logistics businesses, Live and Nutrients and Chem Oil, and again, I'll come back to those. We can take the next slide, please. As I said, a rich history. The Christmas Island was one of 4 islands which were taken by the British to mine phosphate, and for 100 years that phosphate was mined and it was sent to predominantly Australia and New Zealand for farmers for the manufacture of superphosphate. The labour that was brought to the island, because there was no Indigenous residents, were all Malaysian, Chinese who were taken to the island for stints of 2 or 3 or more years as labour. And that continued through to post the 1960s, when in 1958 Australia took control of Christmas Island. In 1987, the phosphate price dropped and the cost of freight from the island to Australia became prohibitive, so the mine was closed. The Union of Christmas Island Workers formed together with some investors, won the right to reopen the mining lease and started remining some of the existing areas as well as some of the tailings, and taking the second grade products and marketing them into Malaysia and Indonesia. Those second grade products have a higher water solubility, so whereas in Australia with superphosphate, as soon as it rains you want the phosphate to go straight into the soil. In a higher rainfall area, obviously it acts as a natural slow release fertiliser. And we continue to mine there today in exactly the same manner, as I said, 33 years down the track. Next slide, please. Our current mining activities, we're averaging over 500,000 tonnes of phosphate every year. We are the largest employer on the island, employing over 50% of the island in our workforce. As I said, our group phosphate there is last year 558,000. Our revenue for phosphate, 125 mil, and we have a maintained phosphate mining infrastructure. Over 16 million tonnes has been exported to Malaysia, Indonesia, some in Australia and some New Zealand since 1990. Next slide, please. There's a picture of the island. You can see the larger green area is National Park, which is 63% of the island. There is vacant Crown land, which is the dark coloured components, or on the map, you can see that as the sort of aquary colour. And those red areas are the areas where we have mining leases. The mining lease we have runs for a further 10 years. But there is more than sufficient resources to continue us way beyond that. We expect at least another 10 years beyond that. As you'll see, the mining areas that are quite dispersed across the island. There's over 30 of those areas, and we'll be mining any 2 or 3 at any one given time and matching the grades to our customers in our markets. Next slide, please. As I said, in the mid-2010s, we initiated a diversification strategy. Now, a large part of that was downstream processing of our fertilisers and becoming involved in the logistics. We have energy business, which we also include between energy and logistics. We have our own ship, so we're shipping our own product into Asia. As I said, we have a strong supporter of the island, the community and the broader stakeholders. Thank you. Of recent, we have engaged and acquired warehouses and leased some additional ones through mainland Malaysia, now into Borneo. In Bintulu, we're building a new. So effectively, we now have the capacity to hold stocks and to add value to those stocks and diversify our product offerings. Next slide. One of the new products that we're doing is in a controlled release or a slow release fertiliser. There's quite a lot of those type of products in the markets today, but not for broad industrial application at a reasonable price point. We've done a lot of trials. We're now conducting field trials, and we're looking to grow that market moving forward. Thank you. Logistics. Live and Nutrients is a fertiliser trading business, which we took a 60% share in. That's based out of Singapore, which has been very strong income and revenue earner for us in the last 2 years, outperformed last year in terms of profitability. And Chem Oil, which is based out of Geneva, which has interests and in logistics and trading in fertilisers and even more so now in refined oils in West Africa. Next slide. Energy, as I said, we currently control the fuel supplies on Christmas Island, which obviously we need for our own products and for the drying, the burners which dry the phosphate, as well as providing fuel to the Department of Defence and Border Patrol, which are very active on the island, as people would remember, had a detention centre there previously and where a lot of the illegal immigrants were heading towards. That creates a strong profit for the company every year. Next slide. Agribusiness, again, as I mentioned, we are looking at growing product on island, which has been very difficult to do. It's quite harsh conditions. We've been expanding upon that with great success and providing back to the community as well. Next slide. Island development. We've just recently been awarded the capacity to participate in the Northern Australian Infrastructure Facility, which is a large funding facility provided by the federal government for development into the northern regions. By now being included in that northern regions, we're able to apply for finance and we want to invest back onto the island. Tourism is certainly a massive opportunity, but logistics are proving at this point in time there's not enough accommodation, there's not enough flights. So the mine is definitely going to become further engaged in that moving forward. Next slide. Sustainability, obviously a massive thing, and certainly for mining companies, and something that we're heavily involved in. I won't go through the details of that. Next slide. Looking ahead, certainly our expectation is that the logistics segment of our business is going to continue to be strong. Fertilisers, as we know, are in increased demand with population increase and food requirements. We're continuing to expand given our current markets and the footprint that we have into Asia. And one more. Why invest in PRL Group? We have a proven track record, over 30 years of mining on the island, which will continue, as well as the new opportunities and that diversification strategy. The strong outlook for fertilisers and food in the world, and strong cash-backed company. We've just sold a Malaysian subsidiary, which has provided some further funding to enable us to build some further warehouses into Asia. And that's it from me. So thank you, and welcome to ask any questions.
Thanks, David. Great presentation, and clearly a business that and a company that's been around some time but has sat under the radar for an extensive period of time. And I would note this is probably one of the first times I've seen the company do an investor presentation in this form. So looking forward to seeing the growth of the company from a publicity and a market point of view moving forward. A couple of questions have come through. Change in name. What was the driver behind it, and why the change in name, and why do you think that's important going forward?
Oh, look, I think the change of the name is just reflective of the change in the business. Previously known as CI Resources mining company, but as you can see from the logistics and the fertiliser chain, we're deriving more profit and more income from that diversification, and we see that is certainly our pathway going forwards. So I think the name more accurately reflects who we are. Phosphate Resources Limited was the original mining company, so PRL Global reflects that international bent that we now have.
Now, you did touch on, you do have a strong track record of paying dividends. What are the prospects of the company continuing to pay dividends in the future?
I can assure you that our largest shareholders who are represented on our board are continually whipping me for more dividends. So the pressure is certainly on for us to do so. As we have been going through the growth phase, we had restricted dividends and uncertainty post-COVID and global markets, but we're now returning to the more normal situation where we expect dividends to be running in that sort of 6 to 8%.
And you did touch on the two special dividends along with the share buybacks associated with the recent divestment. Can you update us on the timeframe of the dividends and buybacks?
Yeah, so just to backtrack, about 10 years ago we bought a stake in a palm oil plantation in Malaysia, which enabled us to further integrate our activities into that market and to expand the product offerings that we had. That's been fulfilled, so we've now taken the opportunity to sell that, which will return capital of over 50 million Aussie. We've allocated 1/3 of that to be allocated for dividends, special dividend, and also for the share buyback. The first dividend is payable at the end of this month, and we receive the consideration over the next 6 months. So the second dividend will be in July, and the share buyback will be implemented post the 30th of June.
Last question, where to from here? The companies that are well funded with cash flow operations, making money, are always being talked about as M&A participants. Is it organic growth? You've been successful in acquiring and building growth in other areas. Is it just keep doing what you're doing and building from there, or do you keep an eye out for what's available to add value to the company for its shareholders?
Oh, look, both of those, David. Certainly in terms of the growth path on fertilisers, that's something we're continuing to invest in, and we see significant opportunities that are there. The logistics business, that will continue to require more capital to grow, and that's been very successful for us. But we look at new opportunities at all times. We've looked at mines in Africa. We've looked at two that we've done a full due diligence on. We've looked at a couple of mine opportunities in Australia. So we're always looking for opportunities as we go forward, and we definitely have aspirations to continue to grow the company.
Brilliant. Well, a great presentation, a good overview of the company, where it's come from and where it plans to go from here. So, David, thanks for your time.
Thanks, David.
Next, I would like to introduce Kenny Wu, Managing Director of Frugl Group, and Rowan Bramell, COO and Head of Growth at Trine Pont International. Both gentlemen are coming to us from Bangkok. Over to you guys. Look forward to hearing both about Frugl and the acquisition plans for Trine Pont.
Hi, David. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm here in Bangkok with Rowan from Trine Pont International. Frugl partnered up with Trine Pont International approximately nine and a half months ago. It's been an interesting journey. We're really looking forward to updating the market with what has transpired since then, and taking the chance to introduce Trine Pont as well. Me from Frugl, we make regular visits to Bangkok whilst we are building out this product and collaborating together down here and back in Perth as well. So it's very opportunistic timing that we're able to update the market at this time whilst I'm on this business visit here. So thank you again for having us this morning, David. If I could have the next slide, please. So just a quick recap to share a little bit about Frugl and the company and the team behind it. We're led by our chairman, Mr. Yip. Mr. Yip is a career banker. He was formerly the managing director of Nomura Investment Bank, the Japanese investment bank in Malaysia. He's also formerly the deputy group managing director of Hwang Affin, DBS Bank in Malaysia. And there I am on the right-hand side. We also have Ms. Kultirath, who is the current CEO and president of the Thai E-Commerce Association, and Alistair McCall, who is our chief data officer, responsible for putting together a very, very dynamic, comprehensive data scraping package. Now, Frugl has been listed and in the market for some time now, and we provide a user experience. We provide a consumer-facing app, and we also provide data intelligence solutions to retailers through in-focus analytics. So this comprises of the principal activities of Frugl as a company. It has been an interesting journey, but I reckon that it will get a lot more interesting. The next 12 to 24 months, we'll see a lot of growth. If I could have the next slide. So this is what we've managed to do in 2023. A few key milestones. Frugl and in-focus analytics has been predominantly an Australian effort. Yeah. We serve Australian retailers and we serve Australian consumers. But the reality is that our model, our product, our scraping engines, all of this is applicable globally. It requires some very minimal local adaptation, but it is almost applicable globally. In 2023, we managed to sign on our first international client, 1004 Gourmet. They're based in the Middle East, and it has been an interesting journey. We are building out a new marketplace and data intelligence solution for them to serve the Middle East market. And we are actually taking on more responsibilities with them in the coming months as well. Frugl as a company, we attempted to build all of our technology in-house in the past. Now, in 2023, we pivoted the company substantially. We adopted a model wherein we partnered up with Trine Pont, thereby providing us with a very lean model. We were able to then unlock their services. They have a team of about 50 odd full-time developers, And this allowed us to accelerate the progress very, very substantially. We'll go into a little bit more detail as we progress. In technology, sometimes being able to build a product quick and remaining relevant is very, very important. So as a result, this happened in 2023. The partnership has worked out very well, which takes us to where we are now, this acquisition. We've also expanded our data offerings in Australia to include pricing data on a very, very big market space, which is the liquor market. We've got new customers in the liquor retailing industry, and beyond that, we completed a successful. In fact, to date, we completed 3 successful placements, but the largest one in 2023, comprising of $1.53 million, with no discount at all to the market trading price at that time. If I could have the next slide. Thank you. So what we plan to do as a company is this. Frugl, the core of what Frugl does is actually data. Frugl is able to collect a huge amount of data in the background and provide this data to our users in 2 forms. We provide the data to users such as yourself, anyone who's watching this webinar, in the form of a grocery app. This app tells you how best to procure your daily necessities, your requirements in the cheapest possible way. Cost of living is definitely something that every Australian or almost every citizen around the world struggles with. Cost of living has not gone down ever in history. It will continue to go up, and retailers will continue to use more and more technologies to also find more efficient ways to price their products and improve their profit margins. This is a harsh reality. Frugl as an app hopes to help consumers save money, help consumers buy their groceries at opportune moments when they can save money. And beyond that, we hope to build a very, very proactive user experience rather than a reactive user experience. We want to build a user experience that prompts our users that there are potential savings in hand, that effectively, if bought today, they can save X amount of dollars, rather than a reactive solution where the app only provides an answer when it is prompted and when it is asked. If we can build a software solution that understands the user's purchasing habits, the user's brand preferences, and provide this in a very, very agnostic way and guide users on how to save money and reduce the cost of living, this is very important. At the same time, this data that we collect is also very valuable to the retailers. The retailers want to know the struggles that, Joe Average is going through, and how to better price their products and the variety of their products and the different brands that they carry of the same product to be able to serve their consumers better. So we sell this data to the retailers through in-focus analytics as well. Now, for 2024, we're going to grow our business in these 2 key aspects in as many markets as we can. The first market is the Middle East, as we've already got a foot in that market. We expect that in the coming 2 quarters or so, we should be announcing our, I wouldn't say announcing, we would be attempting to enter further markets in the Southeast Asian market space. Yeah. So this is the core of what we're trying to do. Now, of course, the third pillar is that data protection is very, very important. So we will be spending a good part of this year figuring out how to protect that data, how to protect the information that we collect, which is where TrainPoint comes in. And if I could have the next slide, please. So TrainPoint International Acquisition. 2023, we partnered up with TrainPoint with the intention to reduce the amount of money we were spending on building this ecosystem that we believe will produce a very, very, very dynamic consumer user experience and also a very, very dynamic product value proposition for the retailers. We figured that the best way to do so was to partner up with a capable development firm, a firm that could deploy resources for us and accomplish the desired outcomes in a shorter period of time. So we partnered up on a sort of a utilization basis. We utilized their resources, I think as early as March last year. Yeah, March, April last year. The partnership has worked very, very well. We've been able to take the product further Consequentially, as a result, you can see that we've now expanded our product offerings into the Middle East, and we'll soon expand our product offerings into Southeast Asia. We also now have expanded our data acquisition capabilities into the liquor market as well in Australia. And all of this was completed in the last 12 months or so, 9 to 12 months or so. So this partnership has proved to be very fruitful. Now, we need to be able to further utilize more of their resources, unfortunately. And consequentially, we made the decision as a company that this acquisition was strategic. So now we are in the process of acquiring TrendPoint International for 8 million Australian dollars. And the company will have a shareholders meeting on the 19th of February. We invite all existing shareholders to participate. But perhaps I could let Rohan from TrendPoint International share a little bit more about the company as well.
Just give a very brief introduction. So it was founded by Vincent TrendPoint back in 2020 in Bangkok. In 2022, we entered a very fast growth phase. Me being an Australian, we started looking at the Australian market because we're already servicing the Western Europe market. We've also got quite a clientele list in Southeast Asia. So we serve a lot of big retailers. So we've got Tesco, Lotus, also the Carrefour in Europe. We've served Hertz. We're now working with the 1004 Gourmet with the Frugl team. So we've got extensive, not just retail experience, but a lot of data, machine learning, and artificial intelligence experience. So my other partners, Justin and Vincent, have been in this industry for more than 20 years each. They were building big data, machine learning, artificial intelligence sort of products years ago before AI became a big buzzword. So we're looking forward to kind of utilizing our expertise to help businesses in Australia and our other key target markets to, take advantage of the new wave of AI.
Thank you very much, Rohan. If we could have the next slide, David, thank you very much. So what we aim to do, I've shared a little bit of that prior to this. Now, Frugl as a company has to evolve from its data offerings. With the technology that's available in the market at the moment, we believe that Frugl can offer an intelligent data solution to retailers and also to users. Frugl user experience in the coming months, in the coming year, we hope to develop a user experience wherein the app will engage with consumers on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a frequency that is allowed by the consumer, and make ongoing suggestions, live suggestions about where to get your groceries, where to buy your groceries, how to save money. And we're going to try to roll this product out phase by phase, depending on markets, starting with Southeast Asia, after the Middle East. And we are also going to offer these data services. But further to that, in order to offer these services, we've built a very, very vibrant and dynamic scraping engine in the background that collects a lot of data. Now, we're going to expand this data acquisition engine towards Southeast Asia, the Middle East, where it's already currently operational in trial phases. And we're going to offer this data as well to retailers in this area. This should happen in 2024 and into 2025 as well. Why TrendPoint? TrendPoint has helped us to compress our building and development periods. Developing software in the past, it was proving to be a lengthy exercise, and we needed to ensure, and we want to ensure, that the technologies that we built remain relevant and remain consistent and remain in a good place to provide a good user experience when they come to market. So this partnership has allowed us to compress the timeline, which was very important in the tech space, basically. And it's also allowed us, of course, to expand into new markets where TrendPoint was already operational. So one market we're currently exploring is Western Europe, where they already have ongoing software work with potential retailers. And we're discussing the possibility of expanding Frugal's service offering in that space as well. Yeah, if I could have the next slide, please, David. Thank you. So this is a quick high-level summary of what we've done in 2023. A lot of you will be familiar with some of it because we've done a webinar late last year on updating the market on a lot of these details. But beyond that, we've also had some strategic investment. We've had an investment from a very prominent investor, John Poynton. We received an investment in November 2023, if I'm not mistaken. And it's been an interesting journey ever since then. We welcome Mr. Poynton to our shareholder registry. And this 2024 year will be a very, very interesting year of growth. 19th of February will be our shareholder meeting to approve the acquisition of TrainPoint. And from then on, we believe that we can unlock their services more effectively. We believe that we'll be able to further ramp up the speed at which we deploy our AI and machine learning model into our current Frugl product. The truth is, the product has to evolve. Data in its own has been around. The provision of data, the acquisition of data, and the monetization of data has been around for a very, very long time. What we want to do is effectively ensure that this data remains relevant by providing intelligent analysis of this data and providing concise opinions to retailers and users. If I could have the next slide, which takes us to the end of this webinar, we open it for any questions. But in closing, I think 2024 will be fairly interesting for us as a company. This acquisition and this partnership with TrainPoint will see us develop our products at a very, very rapid pace, which is what we've been hoping to do for a very, very long time. So we are definitely very excited. We are excited to be able to create value for shareholders and for our users and customers alike, and the ability to expand into various markets globally. I believe that should be the springboard that takes us where we are. And maybe we have something in closing.
Yeah, I think it's this acquisition or potential acquisition, and it opens up a lot of opportunities for Frugl and also the TrainPoint team, because between the two different groups, there's a lot of capacity and capabilities and a lot of market access. So we're in a very strategic location. So we have active projects already around Southeast Asia, Western Europe, and Australia. So Australia was a target market for us back in 2022. That's how this whole Frugl relationship came about. I think we're just looking to further enhance what we can do, what we can provide to the existing client base and also new client base for both companies. Because Frugl, with the InFocus Analytics, they have a quite strong client base already. They have active contracts. And we're looking forward to see what we can do to improve the service offering for both parties.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Rohan.
Thanks,
over to you,
gentlemen.
David. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, gentlemen. Great presentation. And clearly the business continues to evolve and develop as we've seen since the last time we had you on. You touched on it briefly in your presentation. In terms of the capabilities of Frugl, you've talked through retail and grocery industry and how that's fitted in very nicely and picked up a number of client relationships there. Are they applicable to other industries? Where do you see growth outside of retail and grocery sectors for Frugl and its product offerings?
Thank you, David. That's a very interesting question. Now, data, the acquisition of data and the ability to acquire data is a universal ability. We can acquire data for retailers. We can acquire data for mining businesses. We can acquire data for commercial services. We can acquire data for car dealerships. We can acquire all forms of data. And we can also deploy our AI and machine learning engines to process this data and provide opinions as well. Now, in the past, I mean, the acquisition of data has been something that has been prevalent for a long time. This perhaps came into mainstream, as early as the early 2000s when you had Friendster and you had MySpace, which eventually evolved into Facebook. You have Twitter, you have Instagram. A lot of this was actually built on data businesses. And the concept of collecting data and monetizing data has been around for a while. But it's getting rather interesting in the last year, 2 years, and into this year, because now data has become intelligent. In the past, you require humans to compute the data and provide opinions. You'd have David, hey, David, can you analyze this data? Tell me what you think, or process this data. Now, with new AI and machine learning engines, this data can now provide intelligent solutions. You don't necessarily need to deploy large rooms of humans to process this data. AI can consistently, ongoing, in a live manner, process data nonstop and provide very intelligent opinions, suggestions, And as a result, consequentially, our technology is applicable effectively, universally, for all industries, which is something we look to do as we progress. We look to deploy our core technologies into other industries as well. The model will, the data acquisition engine will have to be refined, customized, and tuned to acquire this data. Requires minimal effort. We believe this acquisition will help with that process because we have this development ability in-house now.
Just for some further background, so our leadership team, they've been in the industry a long time, like I mentioned before, but they've worked very, very specific data, machine learning, and AI projects for massive companies in Europe before, and also in APAC region. So we have the capacity in-house, combined with the existing InFocus Analytics team, who have done a great job. There's a lot of automation they've already put in place already, and we've been working together to optimize all the processes over the last 9 months, like Kenny pointed out.
In terms of the acquisition,
yes,
what does the timeline look like from a shareholder point of view? What are the key dates they've got to be shareholders, I should say, should be focusing on?
At this moment, the 19th of February will be the shareholders meeting. The notice of meeting has gone out. And the 19th of February, we'll be holding this meeting in our office. We hope to have as many shareholders as possible participate in this process. And beyond that, once we receive the necessary approvals, the acquisition will be complete. Looking forward. Thank you.
You've evolved the business considerably in recent years. You're adding capability. You're bringing strong capability in-house, both from an executive and clearly a technical point of view. Looking forward, and this is not a projection, so please don't anyone feel this is a projection. This is just a crystal ball gazing exercise. What do you think the business hopes to look like in 1 to 2 years from now?
You know, the usual disclaimer applies. These are our hopes and dreams. We hope to be able to take the company further. All right. Of course, we'd like to share our hopes and dreams with our prospective shareholders and our current shareholders, our valued shareholders as well. We hope that in a year, in 2 years, we have expanded our product offering to various regions. We hope that we are operating in other markets such as Southeast Asia. As you know, Australia is a very concentrated market. People buy their groceries from Coles or Woolworths. Now, if we serve the DIY home improvement market, I think there's only Bunnings, right? I'm not sure if there's a viable alternative. I mean, there might be, yeah. But the reality is our value proposition is more obvious and prevalent in markets where there's heavy competition, right? Where no single company enjoys a very, very substantial market share. Consequentially, they fight very hard for the consumer's business. And as a result, provide consumers with a lot of savings, right? So we hope that we can expand our product offering into more markets. Yeah. We hope that in 12 months, 24 months, you will see Frugl operating its current model in many, many more markets. Southeast Asia, the Middle East, which we've already got a footprint in at the moment, and we're working very hard to grow what we do in the Middle East as well. We hope to do it in as many markets as possible. And beyond that, we hope to transform the current experience into an intelligent solution with AI and machine learning.
On that note, thanks, gents, for a great presentation. Clearly, as I said, the business has evolved rapidly in recent times, continues to evolve, and with the proposed acquisition, adds significant firepower to the technical and executive team of the company. Thank you both for your presentation. Look forward to following the company with interest.
Thank you very much, David. Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
As I said in my introduction, the purpose of this webinar series is to give you the opportunity to engage directly with companies that are on your watch list and to give you ideas of companies you might want to potentially add to your watch list so you can follow them in the future. So look at your watch list. Let us know. Are there any companies you want to hear from? Or are there any companies you've been thinking about adding to your watch list, and we will look to get them on in the future? Thank you to both companies for their presentations today and for each of the presenters for making themselves available, answering the questions and giving a great insight into their respective businesses. We look forward to seeing you again in a few weeks' time. Thanks for everybody's participation.